Thank you. That's the shit. You don't get that here?
It all comes back.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming today, and we're glad you're here. Okay, let's get started by making sure that your cell phones are silenced as we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Swanhill Valley. My name is Fletcher Walsh, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. With open hearts and open minds, we share a commitment to embrace a culture of inclusivity, not bound to or by a specific creed, but through covenant with one another. We do our best to affirm and promote 8 principles as our core values, with love and justice a common thread, always present. At the end of the day, it's our deeds that best define who we are, and with equal resound, our connection to the world around us. You can always find the 8 principles on the back of the order of service, and there's a lot of good stuff there. I remind myself every day that it's worth taking a look at more than once a week. It's our tradition to welcome first and second time visitors. For those of you who haven't been here for a while, to stand if you're comfortable in doing so. Introduce yourself and tell us where you're from. If we can start on that side. Anybody?
Hi, I'm visiting my sister Jan. Very happy to be here today.
Welcome.
Hi there, I'm Holly. I just moved here from California recently.
Welcome, Holly.
Grew up in a Unitarian church. Thrilled that there's one nearby.
Great.
Welcome.
I'm Jan, and this is my second Sunday.
Anybody on this side? Okay. Once again, thank you for joining us today. We hope that you find comfort in this setting and that you'll come back and join us again. If you have an interest in receiving our newsletter, The Current, learning more about who we are, or perhaps getting involved in our community, please fill out the orange cards located in the back of the pew or on the table outside in the foyer. They can be placed in the collection plate or once again the table out front. Also present today, we have folks that are involved in our membership committee, again identified with orange tags. And please feel free to speak with them during our coffee hour directly after. Announcements, we're pleased to announce that our new administrative software, Servant Keeper, is up and running. This is going to provide a huge benefit for internal items relating to accounting and membership protocol, that offers our friends and members a phone app with 24/7 access to our current membership directory. In addition, you'll have the option to add a photo beside your name. The only exception, if you don't try to slip one in when you're in your early 20s. That's the pushing R. Sorry, Larry, that 1967 Summer of Love snapshot has been back in the vault. Well, it's for you too, Marty. With this new software, we know that there'll be some hiccups along the way, trouble getting connected or perhaps navigate the system once in. We ask that you initially refer to the bulletin board in the lobby or our most recent edition of the current for basic startup information with links to guide you through the process. If you find additional assistance is required, Marty, Deb, or Ro have volunteered to make certain everyone wanting to use this program is comfortable in doing so. They'll also be out in the sanctuary, or in the lobby, I should say, at 12:15 to assist those that are required.
So that's us, your local geek squad.
We end this part of the service with respect that the land that we're on today was and remains the ancestral home of the Cherokee and of other indigenous people who through stewardship, understanding, and conservation survived and still thrive in this land. We acknowledge their enduring connection to their homeland. Let our service begin.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning. It feels like fall, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. It's coming. Our opening words are from Lois E. Van Leer. We light this chalice, not because we must, but because we can. We light this chalice, not because we have the truth, but because we each come bearing and seeking many truths. We light this chalice in connection across culture, distance, class, and language. We light this chalice that our religion may be a beacon of light, of hope, and of justice. We light this chalice to kindle our hearts and our minds. So please rise as you are willing and able, and join in singing our opening hymn this morning, hymn number 12. Hymn number 12.
From
seated. Our responsive reading is number 607 in the back of the great hymnal. Beloved presence, cloak yourself in 1,000 ways. Still shall I know you, my beloved.
Veil yourself with every enchantment, and then I shall feel you, presence most dear, close and intimate.
I shall salute you in the springing of cypresses and in the sheen of lakes and the laughter of mountains.
I shall surely see you among the clouds, in brightly embroidered meadows.
O beloved presence, more beautiful than all the stars together.
I trace your face when I leap upon in clusters of grace, in morning flaming mountains, in the clear arch of sky.
You gladden the whole earth and make every heart great.
You are the breathing of the world.
Good morning. It's second Sunday when we have special music, and our visiting artist today is Sue Richards, who has studied Celtic music and will play Celtic harp for us. She studied music for decades, writing and arranging for the harp. She's played in bands, ensembles, and sessions, and I have a number of her CDs in my collection. And now performs occasionally at the White Horse. So just enjoy this wonderful music.
wonderful. Before we go on to joys and concerns, just a couple announcements. Robert Tynes has hit a glitch, and the chemo he was taking has stopped working. He's now at Duke, and he and Betty wanted me to just let you know that there is something in the current where you can write him. He's going to be away for a month or two. There's maybe trying to get some type of transplant thing going on. And so he would appreciate any cards or letters. And again, it's in the current. Joy is in a nursing home over on Sweeten Creek. I'll have Michael put the address there. She cannot have any visitors for about 3 weeks, just so she can get settled. So I will have Michael put that in there on probably Tuesday. I saw Mary Soyanova. Some of you know that she was in a wreck. You couldn't tell it when I saw her. She has about 16 fractured ribs and some pelvic stuff. But you couldn't tell. She said as long as she didn't cough or sneeze or have gas or belch, she had no pain. So there you go. I thought she was on some really good pharmaceuticals, but she said she wasn't. I should have asked the nurse. But she's going to Tennessee to convalesce there because she has family there. I don't know if you took some of the garlic, but she had left a little garlic from her yard. This is always Mary, you know, that's the kind of spirit she has. So I hope you got some. If you didn't, I got 2, so I'll give you 1. And lastly, but definitely not least, you know, Mamie fell, Susan Culler's partner, and you know, they're not going to operate. You know, Mamie may not even know that she's broken her hip because of the dementia. You know, there's COVID there now, so if you go, you don't want to go now. But maybe get in contact with Susan when you think, when you got the spirit moves you, and then you can check her out. She's, you know, they're just not going to operate. So it's not the greatest news. With Mary Soyanova gone, you know, at least for a few months maybe, we need someone to step up to make coffee. This is the sacred ritual of Unitarian belief. We don't do communion, well some churches do, but we have to have the coffee. So if you feel like you can do that, and or the flowers, because Mary would bring flowers up, she will be missed. Who would let Larry know in the back? And that would be excellent. And so, it's time for you to come up and light a candle or put a stone in, and the floor is yours. Does anyone need me to bring you the stone? Okay, this stone is for those of you, oh, it's a big one. For those of you believe, for whatever reason, know that we keep you in our hearts and minds and thoughts and prayers. All right. What are we doing now? Okay. Please center yourselves as you see fit and comfortable. I want to share with you this meditation by Richard Gilbert from a book called Meditations on Life and Death. And after that, we'll have our usual time of quiet, and we'll go from there. This is called Between the Rising and Falling of the Curtain. Between the rising of the curtain, birth, and the falling of the curtain, death, there is the precious and precarious play of smiles through tears, of companions loved and lost, of death in life and life despite death. Between the expectant hush of the audience and its burst of acclaim or disapproval at play's end, we cavort back and forth upon the stage, now in the glow of the footlights, now in the shadows beyond the curtains. All we can be sure of is that the curtain for us has risen. And just as surely will 1 hour fall. Death is to human life what the final curtain is to a play. It gives to life form and substance. It helps us understand the meaning of what has gone before, to more fully appreciate the lives of those who have played their parts and have played them well. And so now, while our minds are one for this brief moment, I leave you all with the eloquence of silence. And so it is. The greatest use of life, as you've heard me say ad nauseum, is to spend it on something that will outlast it. And in that spirit, we will now collect this morning's offering. The day before, we celebrated the life of the spirit that is Ann Sillman. I attended, so that was on a Sunday. So the Saturday morning before, I too attended a celebration of life for a personal friend of mine who had died of cancer. He went into remission for a few years, and then it came back angrier than before. A week before that, one of our newer members, had heard that her son had died rather unexpectedly. So the shadow of death was around me, but not upon me. I just had to stop, at least to slow down and let that wash over me, to let these events and experiences wash over me. And so I wanted just to share that with you. It would have been easier not to, but I'm a clergy person. You're supposed to, kind of have some consciousness about this rather than just pretend it didn't happen. So these are just some thoughts that I had come up with. And I promise you, they're not morose, but there are some things I think we need to be reminded of. What's the old saying? Death smiles at all of us, and all we can do is smile back. Well, you can always say, you mean this person, maybe I'm in the way. Very few of us are unafraid of death. I know talking to Ann was not. Well, I'll get into more about that. And I found that more the older people are who've lived longer lives and they've kind of seen it all. They're kind of ready. I'm tired. The mission's over, and if not, I'm still tired. Death is the ultimate mystery. But there is a way to counter this fear. And for me, it lies in our courage to love. And it takes courage to love. And I'm not speaking specifically just about having partners. It takes courage to love because one of y'all are going to die first. You know what I mean? I mean, not all the time. Sometimes there's the wreck or the whatever, but usually somebody, and you may not want to deal with that. I know people who stay out of relationships because of that. But you have to have the courage to love. It's been said by many different people in many different ways that the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear. I hope it's not a spirit in here. Maybe I can switch a topic. We don't have to do this. I'm going to go on. There are so many instances, and it's all of us. It's, I'm not preaching down to you. I mean, we do it. It's being human. But there's so many instances in our daily lives when our fear stands in the way of our potential to love. Not to love, but our potential to love. And we find many ways to put that armor on and to protect ourselves, to build walls around ourselves. And naturally, we sense and know the risk. That's why we do it. That's the main reason that we act in the ways that we do. And every time we open ourselves up, every time we share ourselves with another, every time we commit ourselves to a cause or a task that awaits our doing, we are risking a lot. We risk disappointment. We risk failure. We risk being rebuked or being embarrassed or being somehow inadequate. Pardon me. And beyond these things, we risk the enormous pain of loss. For instance, like my daughter's in college now. She left a couple Mondays ago. And, it just dawns on me, I mean, I know it up here, But no matter how much I try, I cannot protect her. We cannot protect our loved ones from fatal illness or accidental death. You just can't do it. No matter how much we love them, we cannot insulate them from failure and disappointment. No matter how much we wish to, there are times when we are powerless to heal or to save. We pay for love with pain, but I believe that love is worth the cost. If we try to protect ourselves from suffering, we will manage, we will manage to subdue the very thing that makes our life worth living. Though we can, by a refusal to love, we can protect ourselves from the risk of losing what or whom we love, the irony is that by refusing to love, we will have nothing left that is really worth protecting. We all have our excuses. 1,001 excuses. There's always a perfectly good reason to refuse, to come out of hiding, to conserve our energy, to budget our strength, to cover our backs, to pretend that if we are not careful enough, we will not be hurt, or look foolish, or to have to do something we don't want to do. And I'm not referring just to romantic love. I'm talking about the love of ideals. The love of institutions that embody those ideals. We got an election coming up. I'm talking about this church. Whenever we ally ourselves with something greater than ourselves, we run risks, enormous risks. And at the very least, I wish I had this wisdom before Ann died. You know what I mean? I had to take the time to think about this. But she had to do what she had to do, and my friends did too. But it's cold water in the face, you see. I'm still closer to the end of my journey than at the beginning. I go to the gym, I swim. I'll be dead in 30 years. Maybe sooner, but I'm watching all of you. Watching what you put in my food. At the very least, some people say, Michael, you're not even worth me poisoning you. I get it. At the very least, these allegiances demand our time and our money and our energy. It's not a canvas pitch, but it does. And so they call on us to come out of hiding. They call on us to risk our hearts by the giving of our love. You know, so often we die in unnatural surroundings. You know, many of us die in antiseptic environments, surrounded by strangers and attached to machines. Fortunately, more is being done within the medical community. I know that I used to be a hospital chaplain to make it possible for people to die with some type of integrity and dignity. Even so, unlike in earlier centuries, our image of death is strongly influenced by the feelings of estrangement and fear that so many of us feel when a loved one's life is, invaded. If often impressively, I'm not knocking doctors at all, fought by people to whom death represents a failure of life. And the prolonging of that life, no matter what the quality is, or the lack thereof, is considered a win or a triumph. Of course, many of us, myself included, would not be here today if it wasn't for the miracles of modern medicine and the devotion of its practitioners. So I'm not talking about that. I'm simply stating that one of the casualties of a highly technological age, which is what we live in, is that most of us are separated as never before from the experience of death. And so the most natural thing in the world becomes a taboo. Being a hospital chaplain opened my eyes to this. I didn't become a minister in any real or meaningful way until I saw someone die. And then when I had to do their memorial service or the funeral. It was instilled in me from my higher ups that ministry intersects where life and death meet. Speaking and preaching are wonderful. I love it. Weddings, I'm loving them. But don't get me wrong, but you get my point. That's not necessarily ministry. Of all the things that I am called on to do, none is more important, and none has proved of greater value to me than the call to be with people at a time of loss. The reminder of death awakens me to life's preciousness and its fragility, and many of the same people who teach us how to live also teach us how to die, sometimes at the same time. Anne Lamont once remarked that her therapist once told her a few days before her best friend died, "Now you better watch her carefully, because she's teaching you how to live." She's teaching you how to live. And so Lamont says that to live as if we were dying, and you can't sustain that, but you get my point, it gives us a chance to experience some authenticity, some real presence when you know you're not going to be here forever. Ask Mary Soyanova when you see her next time. Working at a hospice, a woman was asked by an employee, "What's it like to know you're dying?" She responded, "What's it like pretending that you aren't?" Forgive me, it's ragweed season. I have a postnasal drip here. So many people, parishioners, patients, and friends, have enhanced my understanding of life by sharing their deaths with me. In this regard, clergy are particularly blessed. We are particularly graced because people teach us how to die and therefore how to live. They teach us this almost every day. And I have found that one can never have too many instructors in this regard. A proportional relationship exists between the fear of death and the fear of life. The fear of death diminishes our trust in life by increasing our awareness of the risk in living, right? Nobody gets out of here alive. And if you focus on that, you'll do nothing. You'll be so paralyzed with fear that you won't be able to open your heart when it's time to let go. Many of us struggle with this fear. I know my mom did. I said, tired of living, but scared to die. And so I don't know if she's overcome this, but I do know until we can embrace death along with birth, doors will be locked and shutters will be closed because we were not able to meet and let in joy and experience love. The key is to balance the terror of being alive with the wonder of being alive. You see? That's the key. Our lives are beset with trapdoors. With trapdoors, yes. Whenever the ground seems most secure, something out there has its hand on the lever. A massive coronary, an embolism, a drunk driver, a vagrant cell multiplying secretly within your body or someone else's. But trapdoors have a saving grace. They add to our appreciation of life, even as they threaten to extinguish it. Life is not a given, it's a gift. But the gift comes with a price attached. One day something will take it from us. But that does not diminish our lives. It increases its value. Impermanence, getting it that things change. Everything changes. Everything. If you can get that, man, it saves a lot of wear and tear on your colon. When you can get it. I mean, things can be the same way for 6 years and something will change it. And you gotta be able, the Buddha said this 2,600 years ago. He says, let go. Or be dragged, but let go. Jesus talks about it too. All genuine spiritual paths talk about it. Be as free as you can. The over-examined life is not worth living. What about religion? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because we got past death. Religious experience, to my mind, springs from two primary sources: awe and humility. Neither one is served by those who refuse to go beyond the letter of the law. The spirit of the law is more important than the letter of the law. I don't care whether you're talking about scripture or science. You have to be able to explore your inner life. If you don't like the word spirit, not scientific enough for you, find another word. Your interior life. You've got to go beyond. The fundamentalists come in two basic varieties. Right-wing fundamentalists worship a tiny God on their altar. Left-wing fundamentalists reject this tiny God. That's the attitude. You still believe in all that stuff? Fancying themselves doing something creative and important, yet they're both captivated by this tiny God. They're both angry with this God. When folks tell me that they don't believe in God, I ask them, tell me about the God that you don't believe in. And when I listen, I don't believe in that God either. God is not God's name. It's the name we try to give to this energy, this presence, this intelligence, which is greater than all of us, but it is present within each of us. You can call it what you want, but you have to remember that theology is poetry. It's not science. It's not science. During our brief lives, we attempt to interpret the greatest and most mysterious masterpiece of all time, and that's called creation. We rely on books, the spoken word, our own experience, drawn from our reading of the book of nature, studying human nature, and philosophy and sacred texts. That's all we have. That's it. Who has the best insider information? Is it the Christian? Or is it the Buddhist? Maybe it's the atheist. Maybe it's the theist, the agnostic. Who is it? Oh, please, it doesn't really matter. We kill each other over this stuff. Have always. And we may keep going. We are more alike, and I don't get angry, we're more alike than different. But we are more alike in our ignorance than we differ in our knowledge. Yeah? Socrates was right when he said he knew nothing. He said he was conscious that he knew practically nothing. He was and is considered wiser than others because he realized his own ignorance. One of the things that turns people off about religion is what? The certainty. I got God's number right here, Peter. I know what you've been doing. Talk to me after the service. We're getting to a conclusion. Is this guy just spouting? What is he spewing here? In the United States of America, as reflected in Unitarian Universalism, following the principle of e pluribus unum, We have to strive for mutual respect. We don't have to like each other, we can disagree, but we have to respect one another. Because the other options are what? To convert, destroy, or ignore. These are not good options. These are not good options. And we've been doing this. And so respect is crucial. The only other rule, and Ro, I remember you said this about a certain situation. You can't burn the entire house down while you do it. You don't have to like it, but you can't burn the house down. We can't let you do that. I don't care what you're talking about. The country, the church, you can't burn the house down. Why do we gather on Sunday mornings rather than exercise our freedom to believe in the privacy of our own homes? We could be home making love in the morning, you have your breakfast, you have the times, but we decide to come here. I'm not saying you shouldn't do those things. I'm hoping that you do. But we come here. And why do we do it? It's not a trick question. Because we need one another. We need one another. We need to see the tears in each other's eyes. We need to recognize each other. We need companionship. We need to be reminded each and every week of just how precious life is and how fragile we are. That's why. So when the trap door and the roof caves in, don't ask why. I know Nietzsche says, if you can find out the why, you can endure anyhow. He's one of my favorite intellectual brothers. And I get that, but I'm talking in another context. When something I love Nietzsche. But when something happens to you, don't ask why, because why won't get you anywhere. What you have to ask is, where do we go from here? And hopefully, part of that answer will be together. Preferably holding hands while we walk, but that's up to you. And now the conclusion. To be at home with life, we must make our peace with death. Without death, life as we know it would not exist. Every time a woman gives birth, she's giving death. It's not a critique. It's just life. At birth, we get a life sentence and we get a death sentence. Particulars may differ, but the sentence cannot be lifted. Now, there'll be pardons and forgiveness along the way. What can be more amazing, and to coin a contemporary phrase, weirder, than life before death? I mean, this is weird, man, what we do here in this body, on this planet. And I personally believe in an afterlife. To this miracle of life, we have to awaken. It's seeing the world new for the very first time. Our loved ones, our most cherished possessions, the tasks that we perform when you're holding hands. Shared laughter, like we have here. That's life. See, there are people out here who wants to do some anti-life things. An hour of non-distraction and silence, what a concept. A time of being alone with our thoughts until there are no thoughts. I think, Bill, you were talking about that in the email last week. Only the pulse of life is a letter from a lost friend. Not an email. They wrote you a letter. It's the little things. Perhaps an afternoon with nothing to do. Or imagine an afternoon when you get to tackle all the tasks that you avoided. I had that a couple weeks ago, recently. It was a great feeling of accomplishment. It's all good. So I'm going to leave you with these words from the Indian poet Tagore. And we'll go on. The one who plants trees, knowing he or she will never sit in their shade, has at least started to understand the meaning of life. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be. I should go to Amsterdam every week and be exhausted. Okay. Thank you for being here this morning. Our closing hymn, number 298. Wake now my senses. Please rise as you are willing and able.
After the hymn, please take a seat, so after the closing words, we can hear the harp one more time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, can we show some love to our artists this morning? Always bring them. Live simply and gently at home in yourselves. Speak the truth or don't speak at all. Crave peace for all people in the world, beginning with who? Beginning with yourselves. Charity begins at home. And go as you go with the dream of that peace and share it and keep it alive in your hearts. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon.